Hi guys, good morning and welcome to the second day of Villvay Coding Week. Hope you had a great day yesterday with the lecture from Jeff and our session with our blockchain experts Frank and Devaka. There was so much to learn and we had so much fun bringing it to you. So today for the next talk, we have a very special person who is very valuable to us and who is always ready to lend us a hand. He is thriving on imagination. He thrives on good work and excellent standards. He is a powerhouse when it comes to work. So he is none other than our head of engineering, Mushtaq. And just a reminder, you can visit www.menti.com for your questions, and there will be a section so you can post your questions. Mushtaq, over to you.
Thank you, Anjana, for such a humble introduction. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a 411 on problem solving. Let me start by sharing my presentation, and they should have everything ready. Okay. So let me re-welcome you again. Welcome to 411 on problem solving. It is an interesting topic that I feel very passionately about. And so I believe that I can convince you of the same and take a different approach to problem solving after this talk. Before we get started, a little bit about me. I'm an aspiring minimalist. I feel that is the most sustainable way of living in the current, climate of economic and all sorts of crises. And I have been a very troublesome child. I used to ask a lot of questions, and unfortunately, that has carried its way through to my adult years as well. So apparently, being in the IT industry helps a lot with that. And yes, at the risk of betraying my age, I have spent 1/3 of my life as a professional problem solver. So that's it about me. And I have a disclaimer. So no programmers or software engineers were harmed in the making of this talk. So you guys can chill and you won't be hurt during the duration of the talk as well. Because it's a very touchy topic, guys, the way you might see how I approach it. Okay, so without further ado, I have a few surprises for you along the way, just to keep you guys interested. And I'll be trying something very different during this talk, and we'll see if I can really pull it off. Right. So yes, the question: what is problem solving? Let's start with the easy part and establish, or should I say, re-establish some known facts. According to Oxford Dictionary, problem solving is, the process of finding solutions to difficult or complex issues. And that is an apt definition. It's perfect explanation. But let's break that down a bit. With your help, go to menti.com and use the code that you see on the screen and answer in 1 or 2 words, explain how you view problem solving as a professional in IT. I'll give you guys a minute to go and answer while I share the questions. So yeah, let's see if we get any answers and try to get some engagement in. Okay. Time's ticking. Okay. Wow. We have critical thinking, solution, working solution, logical breakdown. Is that all, guys? 15 more seconds. Intelligence, common sense. Yes, yes. The problem with common sense is it's not that common. I'm just kidding. Right, time's up. So let's, okay. Let me end this. Okay, they're getting traction. Right, so let's stop it at that. Yeah, analytical thinking, a working solution, a logical breakdown, intelligence, common sense, most important, critical thinking. Yeah, yes, I think you guys have hit it on the nail head here with critical thinking. Yes, common sense, and I don't see bug fixes or designs, architecture. So yeah, I mean, in relation to that. So maybe the problem is that it's just not just solutions. The critical thinking and all these things would help with the solutions, and also critical thinking also does help you with something else. So maybe in our case, yeah. So maybe I highlighted the wrong words here. Solutions to difficult or complex, and yeah. So the problem solving it's a process of finding solutions. That is it, guys. And how does that process look like? It looks something like this. And I can see that you guys must be nodding your head in agreement with this image. Yeah, of course it is, right? Mushtaq, why are you telling us things that you already know? Yeah, so we all agree that it's a process of finding questions and what, why, where, how, whom, and that is how you discover the problem. So, but I have a, this is the things start to diverge a bit, and why we are here in this talk. The process of problem solving always starts with what is the problem, but I think it should always be followed immediately at some point in time by, hang on, why is it a problem? And to whom is it a problem? So if the what does not necessarily concern me. So I'm going to give you an example. So I'll give you a lot of examples to make to get you some perspective into how things work. So this is the tale of the Villvay dashboard editor. It's a story. It's something that happened to me 4 years back while I was working as a technical lead. So we had a customer requirement to build a dashboard, Villvay editor. So what this dashboard does, it pulls information from a lot of widgets, and from the widgets you can rearrange things. So like you see on the screen right now, and we were tasked with building an admin UI to have a drag and drop, which allows people to configure different configurations that allows them to use this for different roles. So that was the entire use case, build the Villvay editor. And we had one of our architects working on it on a POC for 2 months using an existing Angular library that supports drag and drop. Why Angular? Because we were adapting Angular at that time, we decided to use it. And guys, we did ask all the right questions like, is it scalable? Will it scale? Could use micro frontends because we're using widgets, because our backend is going to be in microservices, and will it be responsive, future-proof, yada, 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 web elements, pluggable. And we wanted to even explore the options of web elements to see how we can bring our web elements, to see if we can make our widgets as web elements, so those would even show up in the admin panel UI. So guys, you can see we have thought far and wide into this, and like, we are not doing anything wrong here. As engineers, we are solving the problem, we are being very critical about it, and we are being very realistic about it. Then during the 2-month POC, we had a platform team that had a surprise for us during a during a meeting, and they threw in a wrench. They said that yeah, you can't use that library, and obviously we were naturally upset about it because 2 months of work, communication, internal things. But yeah, so we couldn't use that. And then we thought, okay, fine, we were cornered to the wall, and we thought, yeah, we'll come back swinging. And we built the entire thing in pure Angular using Angular CDK and services to make it in plain Angular in 2 weeks with extensibility built into it. And we were so proud of ourselves. I mean, come on, from 2 months to 2 weeks and, in your face, right? Just kidding. Then during another one-time status meeting, following happened. Yeah. So I don't know who asked this question, but you will see where this is going. So during one fine status meeting, somebody asked, who will use this Visual dashboard editor? And the project manager, I believe, said it will be mostly admins. So the users, the other critical users are not going to do it. So we had the admin view, and then we had configuration and things like that, and then the main work area. And then they asked, like, how often does the dashboard change? And then there's like maybe 3 months, 6 months. They settled on a year, and then some clients might not even change the dashboard much often if we give them bits and configuration. So this wise guy kept digging, and he asked, so yeah, all our forward thinking just shrunk into the background. Can we start with hard-coded backend dashboards? And then there was a hesitant yes, but yeah, definitely it could be done. And we were starting to unravel, guys. Like, we were there to present our solution, and here we are asking questions. And the final question was, hang on, do we need a Visual dashboard editor at all? And like that, that's how the Visual dashboard editor died. So yes, we were naturally upset because it was 3 months of work. We had put in everything. It was, our pride was riding in it. We got emotional about the entire thing. But if you really think about that, that is what the critical thinking is, right? And that's because asking that question, I'll tell you what happened after that. We were from going from the admin panel to a working dashboard solution in 3 weeks. The customers didn't care and it was shipped and it's still live in production. They don't care where the configuration is coming from. All that they need is, and that is something that I'll touch upon. Like, for them, it was just a tool. For us, it was a passion. We were building a passionate product. Like, we are passionate about the product, but we got too emotional with it. We didn't think critically. We didn't think clearly. So I'm not saying that we should ask questions. We should be a question bank every single time. Like, we want to move from A to B. We had to make sense of it. Like, somebody says common sense, right? Like, why is it needed? And then do we really need it at all? Like, these 4 questions destroyed the entire thing. So lessons learned, every company does this. It's nothing, it's not a reflection of how bad or good the culture is. It's just that how we arrive at problem solving. So with our tails between our legs, let's go back to where we started. So what is problem solving? And we have made the right highlights. It's the process of finding solutions to difficult or complex issues. And now, if I may, the process of problem solving is defining the problem free of assumptions and biases while establishing the facts to solve the problem. That is it, guys. That's the entire thing. That's called defining the problem. And if you do that, you should be spending 50% of the time defining the problem. Okay, I want you guys back in menti.com, and I have a quiz for you. Let's see how many of you all are paying attention. Which of the following would you consider a problem statement? So you have A, B, C, and D. So just pick what you think is the most apt answer. Right, you have 4, 3, 2, 1. You have 1 minute. Okay. Right, the code is 11484253 for those who can't see the slide. Right. So what do you think is a problem statement? Okay. Time's ticking. I'll give you 20 more seconds. Okay. Right. Time's up. Yeah. No, guys, actually, it's D. The problem statement is something that defines a problem, and none of those things. But it's interesting that you guys voted for C and B, because that's what we have been. So I think I can be proud of myself that I'm not the only one who thought like that. So yes, it's correct what you guys thought. Like, yes, upcoming. So number one is, so most of you guys picked C. We need to build a responsive website which will help with the upcoming food crisis to get people fed. That therein lies the problem. If you think about, I'll just tell, I have a punchline for that. I'll get to that later. What I'm saying is, if you think, usually the way we as engineers or people in this professionals in the IT industry, the way we get requirements is like A, B, and C. We need to build a mobile app to solve the upcoming food crisis, and these are the designs. Yeah, go ahead and run and get it sorted. And there's upcoming food crisis, we need to solve it using a mobile app. We need a responsive. But the problem statement is clearly defining the problem, right? Earlier, what you saw. So the real problem here is there's an upcoming food crisis. By the way, guys, this is a real thing that's happening. But there's a lot of food being thrown away, and we need to distribute this food to the people in need. That is a problem statement. From here, you can build a mobile app, you can build a web app, you can build even a metaverse, like what our blockchain developers taught us yesterday. Very interesting topic. And you can use any of the technology, but because the problem statement has been defined and it's raw, you know the why now. Why is it a problem? Because there's an upcoming food crisis, right? Does it make sense now? So what does defining the problem make us do? It gives us empathy, not just for us, not just for the audience, right? Our client and his client has, their client has clients. So we need to build empathy for both these people. And it will eventually, once we do that, what happens is we build the passion to solve the problem. Like, why should you solve this problem? Definitely, this is something that's very emotional problem to solve, and something that we should definitely solve. That gives us the passion and the drive to solve the problem. And as you do this, you make the client understand the problem better. So why did I touch upon this? Usually, when a client tells us, I need to build a mobile app, or I need to build upcoming food crisis. Yes, we can build a mobile app, we can build, because that is what we're here to do. But you need to tell us what the real problem is. That is the problem with problem solving. A solution masquerading as a problem statement. Does that make sense? I think it should, because I can't hear you guys. I hope it makes sense. So if you know what in agile methodology, the way you define a problem, right? It's not like the user button is not working. They always tell you to do, as a user who uses the system, I can't do A, I can't do B. So they remove all biases and preconceived notions about the problem. They just tell you the problem as it is. So what is the problem with the solution masquerading as a problem statement? And there's nothing wrong with it. Our clients, that is how our clients communicate. So think of it like this, guys. You want to build a house, and you have an architect. You have got an architect and an engineer to help you build the house. How are you going to tell, I want a house like this, I want the rooms like this? You're always going to look at somebody else's house and tell, I want my house to be like this, I want it to be 3 floors, and I had a swimming pool inside, and I need a waterfall and whatnot, right? Of course, why not? And but the engineer and architect, right, they have to be sensible enough to understand that you are building a house, and they need to bring you down to reality, yeah, and the costs of that. So as soon as we take a solution that the client has presented, what we are assuming is, we are assuming competence, that the client is competent enough to have done half of our job, which is defining the problem, without any of our skills, which they are paying us to do our job. So no offense to any of the clients here. It's just that we believe them, and that's the big problem with problem statement. So what leads to this phenomenon? So let's break it down a bit. Assumption and familiarity. Very positive things, that we only work with people we know, and we assume a lot of things. Assumptions help us navigate this world without making too many decisions, right? So if I bring this back to the place where my Visibig dashboard editor is, how do you think this solution came about? The client must have seen somebody else doing Visibig editor with, and they must have, okay, why can't we do this ourselves? And they must have proposed it in the meeting, and yeah, they just came. So we assumed that the project manager knew they had done their homework, or they had done whatever that needs to happen, and then they passed it on, and the chain of command, worked. But this is where I really admire our VA friends, because they have a term for this. This is called eliciting the requirements. And for a while, I was curious, because when we were learning, we were told only to gather requirements, and why elicit? So it's funny that when they describe it, it's about evoking a response as opposed to getting a response. There's a big difference, guys. If you are into true crime, you must know that when investigates, or if you get caught, as soon as the cop starts asking questions, you blurt out things that you didn't even about tell, unless you are a hardened criminal. So what they do is they ask you questions like, where were you heading to, like, where were you on Saturday at 10 p.m. and who were you with? So they're not asking questions, they're not interested in knowing who were you with, but they're just trying to see if you can back up what you say. That's reading between the lines. So we have to remove assumption and ambiguity. Familiarity leads to ambiguity as well. We assume that they knew and things. So like I said earlier, our customers have thought about the business. So coming back to the example that I mentioned earlier, we want to build a house. We know how it want to be, what the flow should be, and things like that. But it's all in our mind. Like as you start building it, reality sinks in. Like as you grow older, and that's the same thing with the customers. So they have seen something. Why can't you do something like what Facebook is doing, what Instagram is doing? And the business that they envisioned in their head, and they wish to automate in an industry which has real world constraints. So if I were to speak in meme talk, it's like how you envisioned, I forgot about it. It's just, expectation, reality, right? So the reality is we have performance, we have to think about performance, scalability, security, will it work? And most important of all, the client needs to answer, will my customers use it, right? That's the biggest question that need to answer. Like what happened with us, like why would that means even configure something that, why should you spend 1 year or 6 months building something that the customer is going to use maybe, once or twice a time? Like why can't you do something simple? So asking the right questions is a way of bringing these constraints to their visions and grounding it in reality. I touched upon this. Our clients' empathy or the lack thereof. So our clients come with the best of intentions and sometimes even noble intentions. So in our line of work, we rarely meet our audience. Our audience is not the client, but the clients of our client. We are separated by 1 degree of separation. So how can we have empathy for a people whom we know nothing of? We are met. How can you understand what they would want? That is what I'll just tell you something that happened to us or when a client approached us. The earlier problem, guys, our client, one very noble guy, he is an activist, he does a lot of things in the volunteering space. He came to us with a proposal and he was very passionate about it. He told the problem statement, guys, there is a food crisis coming to Sri Lanka and 5 million people are going to suffer because of this food crisis. And I want you to build me a mobile app to do this for me because I need to solve this problem. So the client's intention, he wasn't misleading us in any way. He told us and he also had the solution ready for us. But we need to empathize. Okay, so think about it, guys. How many people who you think are going to be, fighting day after day to feed their, kids and feed themselves would have time to go through a mobile app, learn the nuances of it and make a food request like doing Uber Eats. How many of our parents can, go with Uber Eats and it's the most simple app to use? Like I can't for the life of get my parents or in-laws to get an Uber for that, right? So we are trying to build something like that. And technology shouldn't get in the way of what is already happening. That was our problem statement. And barrier for entry should be very, very low. So we transformed the way that we approach a solution, and the client wanted a mobile app. We gave them an SMS exchange. So it was a downgrade, but it was something that would work. So empathizing with the client, like I said, gives you passion and drive to think about the problem or even think outside the box. So the client was very happy with it, and we are in the process of implementing it. So yeah, empathizing, guys, is a key skill to have, and it's also a life skill, by the way. Next, you are the expert, but you don't act like one. Like I said, I will fire some shots at you. No engineers were harmed that one. So what I meant you is us, of all the people in the industry. So experts, they analyze, they have a lot of experience. That's why we are called experts, because we are not rookies. We have experience, we have faced this problem, we know to handle ourselves in pressure situations, like we know when there's a server meltdown in production. So we know what everything that could go wrong. They analyze and think of the bigger picture and what sort of impact they will have on the solution. They also raise risks very early, because they can see if you do X, Y, and Z, yeah, definitely it's not going to work, because you can either use X or Y. So they give options, they facilitate the clients. That's very important, guys. They facilitate the clients to make decisions, because decision making is the hardest thing in the world. I don't know if you knew this, but the US presidents aren't allowed to pick their own dresses in the morning, or what they, the preference of food, because even that is mentally draining. So we need to help our clients make decision and make them aware of the consequences. I will just tell you a short story to drive home the point. So we had recently a client coming to us, and they had a product that is already built. So problem start statement is clearly understood. I can't reveal what the exact details of it, but they had to solve the problem, and it has to do something in the education space. They were told that, listen, our product is developed, but it's like 70 to 90%, it's almost done. But we just don't know why that there are issues that are there that pop up randomly, and they are not very consistent. So we don't even know what the issues are, and we want to go live, because this we are already late by a year. So the problem statement for us was, yeah, it shifted for us. It shifted because it was no longer about finding what they wanted. They already knew what they wanted. It's just that they want to go live within a specific period of time, and are they ready to go live? And we had to be very brutal and honest about it, because we told them, listen, there are a lot of problems with this. Number one big problem was that it's an enterprise grade application that was built as a hobby project, to put it mildly. So one problem I'll just tell you to illustrate my point. If two people are chatting in that application, you might have a Firebase bill of around $2,000 at the end of the month. So yeah, and scalability, you can forget about it. So there is a lot going on there, guys. And we told them, listen, your code is there. Yes, you have the ingredients, right? But you are not ready to go live. And if you go live, you will face these sorts of problems. And they were not happy when we came up with a timeline and a quote for them, because they thought somewhere around 2 months and X amount. And we went with 6 months. And yeah, naturally, they weren't thrilled about it. But then we changed the way we attack the problem. So this went on for 3 months, guys, like not like 3 continuous months, but we spent almost 3 months. It was a 3-month calendar period where we were discussions. So we told them, okay, fine, let's break the problem down for you. So you have what you have exhibit A is what we have right now, and you have this is then you have the better scalable architecture where you want to be. But this is where you can meet you in the middle ground architecture if you are willing to go ahead with it. So naturally, the client picked A, and they told, yeah, definitely we want to go there. We want to get out of this mess. So it changed the way they approach the problem, because the clients are not going to trust you, because you have to win their trust. That is the important thing that we rarely do. We don't sell the solution, guys. We just tell, listen, it's it, take it or leave it. We have to sell the solution, because you put your time and effort into it. You might as well sell it. If they are not buying, yeah, probably introspect and see why didn't they buy the solution, because the solution has to work, and you have to test it in your mind, like what happens again, critical thinking, guys, being full of bias. Just because, don't get attached to us like how I did when we came with the Visvic dashboard editor. Yeah, emotions are high. You put a lot of effort and time, but you had to remove emotion out of it. Even if the client doesn't want to go ahead with it, that's fine. It's just that you did your job. You acted as an expert. So your job is not to just document requirements. Your job is not to just sell. Your job is not to write code. Your job is to work as a whole, and you guys are the experts. So never forget that. Right. Um, so let's move on to the next part of it. This is where it gets technical and dicey, and I will fire a lot more shots at engineers because I'm an engineer myself. Uh, so the next problem with problem solving is forgetting that it's just a tool. Like I said, it's removing us from emotion. So what's the difference between a tool and, let's say, a passionate product owner? It's perspective, guys. We use tools every day, like my toothbrush. I don't love it. I just love using it. And the day that I don't find my toothbrush is the day that I know how much I need it, right? But I don't want it. Because yeah, hygiene, and I need to speak to people. So that's what a tool is, right? It just does its job and gets. So the day you're brushing your tooth and you break one of your tooth, you're going to sue the company. That's what a tool is, exactly. We are only aware of the tool when we misplace it or it starts to misbehave. Passion is, you may be iPhone, different passions. A Ferrari is a passion, right? Like, you're very passionate about it. Even if it has millions of problems, you're willing to, it's like you're willing to forgive it, right? You are very forgiving of a passion, but you are very critical of a tool. And we are building tools, so get ready to be criticized a lot. There's no winning with the client. Like, 99% of the time, there's one incident, and you need to do a root cause analysis. You need to tell them why it went wrong and how it went wrong, and you need to promise them. You need to take a note saying, I solemnly swear this will never happen again. And just, you need to do all of that. So just understand that you are building a tool. People will always, but one good thing about a tool is people will always find workarounds if a tool isn't working, right? Coming back to the brush, if I can't find a brush, I'm going to get a new one, or I'm going to use my finger to brush my teeth. Whatever it is, just that gets the work done and moves out of the way, right? And they're okay with it. So that's why they will be more forgiving of you if you can't, if it doesn't work when and there. But imagine that happens with something that you're passionate about. It will ruin your experience, it will change your mood and things like that. So, and one other thing with the tool is the tool can always be replaced, right? They are not attached to it. So be very careful. So that's what you need to understand, that you're building a tool, and you need to understand that, and you need to, get very real about it. So what leads to this problem is something called stack dogma. This is something what I'm talking about. We solemnly swear to build all applications using Java in Dockerized container microservices deployed to a K cluster. I'm taking digs at Java developers because I'm a Java developer, but it's confirmation bias that plays a key role here. We pick the technology because we are familiar with it, we know it well, we think we can manage it, without having a contingency of what would happen if things go wrong. It is okay to stick to a stack that but do you have plan to adapt if it does not work? What is the ROI in converting, let's say, from microservices to monolith and vice versa? How costly is it to use backend as a service? Have you answered all these questions, or did you just pick Java microservices because that's what you know? And so you need to understand, we can't get very attached to the stack, especially in the current world where there are, we have spent like 35 minutes and there are 15 JavaScript libraries that are born since then. So yeah, update your CVs, guys. So getting attached to a particular stack, or being we should use these particular things, raises a lot of questions or a lot of problems later on. I don't know if you know about Redux, if you have worked with React. I was mesmerized when I started using state application, state machines, application state in Java, in the JavaScript world. It changed the way I coded. It just flipped the brain switch on, like, oh my God, I can use this for almost anything. Immutability, the good concepts like the you know I can't think of the term, but dynamic programming, and so it's everything that was good about it. You just put in there and you learned and grew like what it represented. And then I was implementing Redux in the Angular world, but I was following Redux very closely because we weren't using Redux. And then during one of the interviews, Dan Abrahamov, I think he's the creator of Redux. He's a young kid when he did that, and he gave the talk, and he almost transformed the entire industry when it came to about application state in SPAs. So he, during one of his coding interviews, they asked him a question. What he was doing was he was doing a mock coding interview, and the interviewer asked him like, would use Redux for this problem? And he told, nah, I don't think so. And I was like, dude, that's you literally invented that, and you're not using your own tool, you're not using your own dog code. So the reasoning he gave was very simple, right? And he pointed out that when you shouldn't use your technology, if it doesn't make sense, is it overkill? Are you using an axe to kill a mosquito, right? Or are you complicating things just because you have to use this? So we all know the problems with specific technologies, with microservices. There is always a trade-off, guys. Understand the trade-off and then move ahead from there. Yeah, I think I have made my point. I just move on to the next one. You don't kiss. You read that, right? Yeah, it's kisses, keeping it simple and stupid. Anybody can make a complicated solution. Like, I mean, look at our country where we are at now, right? How much more complicated can it get? So yeah, making people, keeping things simple. The reason I was very drawn to this approach of keeping things simple, because I was following. I usually read a lot of tech blogs, and I was reading about Discord moving from MongoDB to Apache Cassandra, if I'm not mistaken. The I was blown away, and they were telling that we started at 20 billion messages, but now we have close to 400 million to 600 million messages passed a day. And I was imagining the scale, and how are they going to do the data migration? How are they, what sort of, I couldn't even begin to wrap my head around all those things. And when I was reading through it, I found a beautiful quote that they said, built quickly to prove out a product feature, but always with a path to a more robust solution. I mean, that was like, that really makes sense. Know the limitations. And they told, really, we knew that MongoDB will not scale. We knew the limitations of it, but it was the easiest thing for us to prototype. It was the easiest thing for us to roll out features. And when we reached that bridge where we need to cross, we made it so robust that crossing that bridge will not cost us. Yes, it will cost you money and effort, but not as much as the product, not investing so much in the product and the product not taking off at all. So that is the approach that we have at Villvay, or we embody. Like, we build up because we cater to a lot of customers. We are in the service industry. We cater to customers from startups all the way to enterprise applications. So we have to speak their language, the language of money, the language of how there'll be an ROI for them, and what happens if things don't work. We have to give them some guarantees, guys. So and also we have to think about how you can scale a simple solution, right? I'll give you what happened to us. A good example. We had a lot of bleeding edge startups coming in, and they wanted to try a lot of things, and there wasn't a lot of room for experimentation. So some of our codes were like 6 months, 4 months, and they were like, guys, is there something that you can do to us within 2 weeks or 3 weeks? And we were like, okay, crazy. So again, put the critical thinking hats on, like what are we missing? So we figured this thing, we got introduced to this thing about Jamstack, and we were like blown away, like, guys, they are literally solving the problem. You can host on the edge the Jamstack. It's the JavaScript, it's called Jamstack. I don't remember the entire definition of it, but what it does is JavaScript APIs and tools that CMSs and things that are built on that. And we settled on something called Strapi, and we have done close to like 6 to 7 projects, if I may, and a lot of very experimental projects. Even the project that we told earlier about, we did it entirely in Strapi. What it does, it gives us a CMS, it gives us a CRUD, it gives us REST, GraphQL, all of the box. It's not a no-code solution. It's not a low-code solution. It's a solution that is extensible. So the big beautiful thing with Strapi, as opposed to anything else with CMSs that we use, is everything is open source and everything is clearly built on top of another technology. So the database that they generate, right? The database that they generate is pure SQL, right? You can go for MongoDB as well, but you get the schema. You can split the schema, and the REST APIs, it's written in Node and if I'm not mistaken, Quad.js. You can just use that to extend it to almost anything else. And the possibilities of those were endless. And we didn't have a lot of Node developers, but we now have close to 6 to 7 people working in Node, and we were a Java and PHP heavy company. It was a, like, we thought, like, why now we're reiterating a lot of things, like why couldn't we do certain microservices that we did? Yes, we do microservices in Node. I mean, that would have made life so simple for us. If we don't want it, we are not losing developer time or anything, and it scales like crazy, guys. Strapi, it's supposed clustering. So I'm not advocating that you should use Strapi or anything, but the thing is, just keep an eye open. The same thing happened to us with Laravel. The client came to us and we wanted to build a solution, and then we found out that Laravel had a lot of things, like they have solved a lot of problems for us that we don't have to spend time. So we can prototype as fast and as quick as possible. That is the need of the hour. Yeah. So and one last thing I want to touch about is we are so obsessed of scaling. Like, will it scale? Will it scale? What happens if the broker goes down? And to all that I say is, like, almost 70 to 80% of the time, vertical scaling would suit your needs, guys. And you would know when you did vertical or horizontal scaling. I'm not highly opinionated about it. It's just that I feel that, yeah, just start with what you have and see if things don't work. And we have come to the last part of the point about, it's just a tool. How much are you willing to spend on a tool? When the bills come due, guys, remember, the clients paying you to develop the project is just the down payment. They have recurring bills. They have to pay. They have to support the product for the entire life cycle. Think about the maintenance cost for them. How much it would be to fix a bug, how much cloud hosting is crazy. Bug fixes come at a cost. And when there are production issues, sometimes they come with disastrous consequences. So, so really think about this when you do something, because we had a client come and tell us, listen, guys, you built the perfect solution for us. We don't have any problems with it. And it's working fine. Zero downtime, zero bugs. Everything is fine. But guys, I'm paying $3,000 or $2,000 for something that barely around 200 people use. There is no ROI for me. I'm just enriching Amazon with my project. How do I bring this down? So just keep that in mind as well, because at the end of the day, we are all there for one single purpose, to make money, and you're there. So be very empathetic about that aspect of things as well. Okay. So now the mood of this topic is going to shift, because I think I have given a lot of facts and I have maybe pushed you towards boredom. So I'm going to try something that is a lot experimental. Like I said, a surprise. And we'll see if I can pull this off. Are you guys ready? Right. What is Jurassic Park doing in the middle of a problem-solving tech talk? Let's find out. Go to menti.com, and use the code 55459694 to answer some questions. Right, you guys have 1 minute and 30 seconds. Let's wait. Yeah, I'm going to risk my age again and tell that it's the greatest movie of all time, because that's the first movie I watched in a cinema, and I have a lot of nostalgia attached to it. Oh wow, a lot of people have seen it. Yeah, now you guys are active. I should have made it about Jurassic Park from the very beginning. Twenty more seconds, guys. Oh, Gen Z. Okay. Sorry for being judgmental. Okay, okay, it's heating up. Let's wait 30 more seconds. Okay. Right. Yeah, let's move back. So since there's two people who haven't watched Jurassic Park, I pity you. Go ahead. Today is a Sunday. Go ahead and watch Jurassic Park. But guys, it's about a story. I think you have watched Jurassic World, so definitely you have some exposure to how dinosaurs are. So Jurassic Park started the whole thing. They used genetic mutation to combine frog DNA with dinosaur DNA that they found in fossils, and they created dinosaurs. And they created dinosaurs. That's the good part. Uh, everything went downhill from there. So whatever that they did was a major catastrophe, and we have 6 movies explaining over 30 years why what they did is wrong. So without further ado, let's use Jurassic Park to juxtapose everything that I said right now, and let's see if I can pull it off. Number one, guys, they used genetic mutation, like I said, as the core to create dinosaurs. And that genetic mutation was bleeding edge. They used a framework that they think they understood for services. In reality, they were ill-equipped for use in real-world scenarios. So yeah, they did genetic mutation, but what they later found out was, I'll explain it in my next one. So they knew how to leverage it, they knew how to create dinosaurs, and they had thought about all aspects of it, but will it scale? That was a problem that they couldn't answer. And did they test their hypothesis? No, they didn't. And guys, make no mistake, they are literally breeding killing machines. So, and then they thought, yes, we can create dinosaurs, and we can also ensure that they don't breed. And how did they do it? They just told, we just deny an enzyme at the right time, and we deny. And yeah, right, dinosaurs didn't breed. I mean, why did they breed during the entire 6 movies? Like, I don't know from where we got so many dinosaurs over a 30-year period, but they did breed. And that was the only contingency that they had. That was the core contingency that they had to put in place, that dinosaurs can't breed. If they breed, they're screwed, right? It rhymes as well. So that is something that the very core, they forgot to address the problem statement there. Yeah, they were building a park, but they had to also ensure that if this contingency fails, everything else fails. Yeah. And then they use automation, and John Hammond is the guy, for those who haven't watched, is the guy who's funding this entire thing, and he's the owner of the park, and he always uses the term, we spared no expense. And they use automation for almost everything, including electricity. They use state-of-art technology, robotics, even access to doors, the dinosaur fences. Everything was controlled by automation. And how many guys, and this guy was automating it. Dennis Nedry, really, what can I say? He's a character. So he they literally were one power failure or one disgruntled employee from disaster, as we found out. And why should they even worry about automation, right? Like why do you think that we should worry about, you know, a disgruntled employee leaning who has his code in his private repository would get upset about it and just leave with the project, leaving us with only the last version of the build or with the jar file? I mean, why do you think we should make that happen? Or why should we even worry about you know, transaction failing in a distributed microservice environment? I mean, Visa transactions, they process like what, 5 million a minute or 5 million a minute. I mean, what could go wrong? Yeah, and they overlook critical issues before opening the park. Right? They didn't think about scenarios like what happens if one of the dinosaurs get into the land area where people were there, because they are bringing people. They are in an island. Guys, think about this. They are a dumpster fire from the very beginning. They are in an island, and that island usually experiences huge hurricanes. And the only way to get out of the island is through a boat, ferries, and there are times. Imagine what happens when one of these animals, these killing machines, gets out, and there are people cornered in the island. What could go wrong again? So did they plan for it? We'll see. And then what happened is they brought in consultants, in their case scientists, to vet the park. Make no mistake, they didn't bring in the scientists to tell them what the problems were. They already knew what the problems were. They were saying, listen, just sign this dotted line saying we are good to go live. And we never do that, right? I mean, we never push a product that is half-baked, or we know that is going to cause issues because there's a deadline we need to keep and there are investors who are pushing us. So they disagreed, they gave their opinions, and I think one of the smartest men on television was also part of that. I'll come to him a bit later. That's Dr. Ian Malcolm. He's yeah, I'll just come to him a bit. The next thing, they were using genetic engineers or geneticians, what they called it. They were so tunnel vision. They were the beating heart of Jurassic Park. They literally created the dinosaurs. They were controlling every aspect of it. They were ensuring that they were the dinosaurs don't breed. And spoiler alert, they were breeding behind the scenes. And they were so tunnel vision. Yes, what they are doing a brilliant job. They are creating dinosaurs. They are bringing in the revenue, but what they forgot is everything around them is just falling apart, right? All their hard work is going to go down waste. I mean, why should you worry if a project goes live or not? I mean, why should you worry about it? I'm doing my job. I'm writing the best code. I'm designing the most perfect solution. And why do I have to worry if the client goes live with it? Well, they are paying a salary, so maybe that might have something to do with it. Everyone employed had reservations. It was a red flag right from the get-go, guys. Everyone employed had reservations. They were, thinking about. So the first thing, there's a gamekeeper. He mentions that all of these animals should be killed. That's literally the first line he says. They had reservations. They voiced their reservations, but John Hammond, he embodies the entire culture, this toxic culture where they don't want to listen, they don't want to adapt. No, listen, I have put in money, now we need to go live. So the programmers, there were just 2 of them, and they were maintaining 2 million lines of code. Maybe it's just a movie detail, but I can't imagine that level of, I mean, you can have superstar programmers, you can have superstar engineers, but yeah, that level of automation is almost impossible. They were verging on the, they were on the verge of, they were on very thin ice. So yeah, so everything, I don't know if you heard about Murphy's Law, everything that could go wrong in Jurassic Park could go wrong. And 6 movies later, they wrapped up saying, you know what, if we can't kill them, join them. So dinosaurs and man can coexist. Why not? Sure. The bug has become the feature now, guys. So we learned that from Jurassic Park, by the way. Right. Um, so this was the guy I was talking about, Dr. Ian Malcolm. He has brilliant quotes on problem solving or under critical thinking. Dr. Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park. The first line, as soon as he enters into Jurassic Park, he sees the automated jeeps coming in and saying, "There's no driver." No, there's no driver. And they say, "Oh God, help us. We are in the hands of engineers." And by the way, Dr. Malcolm is the atheist in the movie. He's a chaotician. So I found it very funny that he took a jibe at us. So it is good fun, guys. I'm not like I say, I'm going to fire shots at you. No engineers are, no engineers were harmed in the making of this talk. Um, then there is one other thing that it says. So let me set this up for you. So there's the argument going on to refresh your mind. In the dining table, like what John Hammond is saying, we have leading edge technology. We have done what nobody else has ever done. And if I had built something like like a flock of condos, you wouldn't be having such a big conversation. To that, Dr. Ian Malcolm replies with, "Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should." I mean, how apt it is to us, right? Uh, you are doing something just for the sake of doing it, and you don't think about the ramifications of technology. How many people in the tech world, Facebook engineers, and they have left the company because of the toxic, not just because of what their product is, become a monster in itself. Yes, every single thing that you do, if you don't have your right morality or moral compass, you might be end up building a monstrosity that you can't control, and you have to have 6 movies about it later. So yeah, we should think about not just from like all aspects, guys. Critical thinking again. Should you do this? Is this ethical? Is this legal? But at the same time, am I being so tunnel vision by just getting excited about the technology? What can I learn and think? Am I forgetting about the big picture? So he very beautifully, I think this quote is literal perfection. I mean, there are very few perfect things in the world, and this quote is one of them. Then this argument goes on, and then he says, like, why do you have such a big, John Hammond again says, why do you have such a big problem with what we have done, right? Like he goes with the argument about, if you had bred condos, you wouldn't have a problem with it. And, he just felt because of dinosaurs, you have a problem. To that, he replies, "You stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as you could. And before you even knew that, you patented it in, packaged it, and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox." And the way he does it, I mean, Ian Malcolm has this lazy elegance to him that builds a lot of charisma around him. And the way he says it, guys, is like he's telling you to go fly a kite without using any cuss words. It's so, again, this quote is also, it's little perfection. It captures aptly what we do. We use technologies like, listen, I'm not against any of the technologies that we use or the approaches that they do. It's just, did we understand the complexity that are bringing into something, or is it worth the complexity that you're trying to solve? If a project is going to live only 1 year, is it worth the complexity? Context is important, guys. So that's what he said. Before you even knew it, you did it. So he's bringing microservices or Apache Kafka, because all these technologies were built for a very specific purpose. Didn't have to build LinkedIn built Apache Kafka because they wanted to try out something new, because they had a need. Microservices is a rehashing of a lot of things, but again, it was there to serve a need, and there are very real use cases where it's needed. We use them in a lot of things where we feel that it's needed, but at the same time, we have to be very skeptical when there is only one way or the highway. So yes, thank you, Dr. Ian Malcolm, for those wise words, and keep encouraging us, and we'll use you. I think they're doing this character in the next last few movies, but yeah. So I'm almost there at the end. So let me just bring to the tools to help you with problem solving. So I already gave you the answer. It's critical thinking, guys. There's a lot that what critical thinking embodies, but one thing that it is being very objective and being as little biased as possible. That makes you make clear decisions, like, okay, what happens if X, Y, and Z happen, and why should I do it? What am I missing? It's questioning yourself, introspecting, retrospective, being very critical. So if you have noticed over time, our approach to problem solving has changed. We are not saying we are there. We are getting there because we are seeing the problems with problem solving. Because we service a lot of clients, we talk to a lot of clients, we learn, we adapt, and we understand. So critical thinking is something that we are trying to embody, sorry, not embody, it's trying to bring into our culture, that every single aspect, like, are we doing this just for the sake of doing it? Are we going through the motions, or is there a real reason why we're going behind this? The next thing is the 80-20 rule. It's because there are like I think our CEO says this, it's less is more. He uses that term. 80-20, like 20% of the effort that you put in will solve 80% of the problems. So why aren't you focusing on the 20%? That's that narrow thinking, that focus of finding the 20%. That's the key. As soon as you find it, your problem is almost solved. Next, great communication. Guys, don't ever underestimate great communication. And you would have found out it's not about the language you speak, it's not about how you write. Excuse me. It's about, using the communication as sharpening your questions. Great communication comes like good peers. Like I said, they use the right terms to define. They ask the questions to read in between the lines, to see what is not there, to predict things that can go wrong based on past prior biases. So use your confirmation biases, use great communication to get there. And the last thing, somebody very aptly put it, is common sense. Anything that you're doing should make sense, guys. If it doesn't take sense, if a build step takes, if to deploy a build takes 8 days to set up something as simple as a sandbox, just ask the question, like, why is it so complicated? Common sense. We hate complexity, and we suck, sorry for using that word, at solving complicated problems. So takeaways, it's a life skill. Simple. Everybody solves problems, and our brain is doing it. We are using a problem, we are solving a problem. Everybody needs to solve a problem, and approaching it needs to happen in some way or the other. So just think that I'll be very objective about it. One other thing that we face as engineers is you will have to deal with a lot of drip information or secondhand information. You don't get the privilege of talking to the clients directly. Yes, it's a privilege. You get first-hand information, and you can make a lot out of it. So stir up conversations where you can. Be a project manager, ask them why should we do this? Why should we add this feature? Why can't we do something else? There's an existing feature. Just stir up a conversation. That is really constructive. And again, that leads to my last point. Asking the right questions is the shortest path to clarity and vision. I'll just end with this, guys. The most brilliant engineer, I have worked with a lot of people, I have seen balance both these aspects, technical and functional. They know the business and they know the why of what they're solving. So thank you for being here. And Anjana, do we have time to take questions? Are there any questions? If there are any questions, I'll...
Yes, Mushtaq, we have a few very interesting questions. So, okay, the first question that we can answer is, there is a question that has been posted. The question is, I have been for so many technical interviews, and on a few occasions, I have received feedback that my problem solving skills are weak. Could you share how to assess and identify this weakness?
Right. uh, it's a very hard question. So I'm not claiming to have any solutions, but sometimes what you might be having is stage fright, because as somebody is looking you, I mean, how many of us can code the binary tree right now? Like I can't do it. So it might be that I don't know what the technical problems that is there. What might be, you might be doing is like reading into it a lot more. So as soon as you get a problem, don't try to code it, right? The first thing that you should do is establish the ground rules. Okay, just understand the question. So I have done like close to, I don't know, 500 interviews, and I have seen what candidates do as soon as they get a question is, they get excited. Yeah, I'm going to code, yes, because they have been answering a lot of questions, they get breathing space, and they misunderstand the question. So I always ask them like, can you repeat what I told you to solve? For example, one thing that we ask is, one thing that we ask is, can you find the unique in things? And people think that, they don't understand what unique is. They tell, so then we ask like, can you use two numbers to find the unique, right? You can't use two numbers to find unique. Unique is it should have more than two. That's the rule. So establishing that is very important. And don't worry that your problem solving skills are weak because you don't have practice, right? Practice makes perfect. Go to and solve a lot of problems. Start from the very basic. There is a lot of things like code wars. There are project Euler. Just solve basic problems and see if you can improve what you have written. In your case, let's say if you can solve the finding the largest in an array, right? Yes, you have solved the problem. You're at step one. Step two is, can you find it efficiently, right? And that would get you the ball rolling. So then you would see that you see a lot of shortcuts where, and then you would see why data structures and algorithms are so important. They solve the problem. Like there's linear search. Don't go and learn these things. That won't essentially. Just first try to solve problems, right? Basic algorithms, and look into them. And also evaluate yourself and see if you have stage fright. Because if somebody is seeing over your shoulder, do you feel very judgmental about it, or you feel put on the spot? Then what you can do is you can start commenting your code, and always take control of that part. If you feel you're not feeling comfortable, just tell them, this is the way I think. Start writing the code, in documenting like what you know, what you don't know. That should help you. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, that was very inspirational. So we have another question. In software industry, we do a lot of integrations with third-party systems. So there is a question. Assume that the third-party system is extremely complex, and to decide on an approach to integrate it, we need to get what sort of options are possible. But the third-party vendor is not willing to present any feasible approach. How are we going to approach a problem like that?
Could you repeat the question? So there is a third-party vendor, and it's very complex.
There is a third-party system. It's very complex. We need to integrate it to a system. The third-party vendor is not willing to present any feasible approach. How are we going to solve a problem like that?
Again, right? So that looks to me more like a misunderstanding. I mean, if they are not willing to, there should be an agreement, right? We can't design a solution in the blind and okay, will this work? We can't play peekaboo with the client, right? They need to tell us, I don't know why that there might be certain things, but if you want to decouple things, right? For example, you don't care what they sent, you can think about a lot of integration patterns that are coming in, like a message queue. You say, we don't care what you think, you just push a message to this, we will handle that later. We don't need to know what endpoints to call, or you can design an architecture like, am I going to pull information, or I'm okay with getting push information? Is information streaming in is very important, like should it be very critical? Like if I miss an information, will somebody die, or would it really make it a bad day for the customer? That's what this entire thing is all about. Like asking the questions like, okay, what happens in the worst case? Like they tell, okay, we build something. So imagine that you're doing this, guys. You're building REST API and telling, okay, by the way, can you just call these when you want some information, because we are going the extra mile, and they tell no, you can't. So you can't do anything there. First, you have to establish the communication there. You need to understand, maybe there are a lot of proprietary things that they don't want to share. That is fine, but we can give them options like, is the message queue okay? You don't have to call our APIs. We'll use Kafka or ActiveMQ or RabbitMQ that you're comfortable with, push information, and we will just trickle it down from there. So I think again, it's more than a technical problem. It's a communication and an understanding problem.
All right. So we have another question. The next one is, do you believe problem solving is restricted to an individual's cognitive ability?
I used to believe that. That's a really good question. I used to believe that, but then I found that you don't have to be very smart to solve problems, guys. Babies, right? How do babies, they have found out that babies learn to make specific sounds when they have needs. How do we are born creatures, right? We are solving a problem right now. We are solving 10 or 100 problems a day, right? I mean, unless you have been living under a rock in Sri Lanka, if you haven't been problem solving, I don't know what it is. If you are talking specifically about the technical space, I think it's all about exposure, a lot of exposure, facing a lot of problems, like you say, and your approach to it, because you would get only good at it. So that is the good thing about problem solving, is the more problems you face, the more bad experiences you go through, you will be so attuned to not repeat that problem again. Like, you know what happens when things go wrong. And I don't think IQ, it helps, right? It's only 1/5 of the thing. The rest is, like I said, if you have really good IQ and you don't like to talk to people, how are you going to get to the crux of the matter? So I think Steve Jobs, right? Just to illustrate the point, how many products did Steve Jobs build? None, right? It was Steve Wozniak, right? Steve Jobs was a visionary, and he could execute his plan, and he solved a lot of problems in the world. And how do you think, who was the smartest man in the room? Was it Steve Wozniak or Steve Jobs? Were the Steves out of the two? Steve Jobs didn't even completed college, right? But yeah, you can say his IQ was high, he saw different problems, but that is it. You don't have to be an engineer to see a problem and solve a problem. You can be a project manager who asks a lot more questions, who is a lot more critical. So like I said, it all boils down to critical thinking and, out of the box thinking, right? At the end of the day, why do we have to, if I give you only options A, B, and C, are you a person who would say, why can't there be an option D as well, right? Have you thought about it? What is the harm in looking that option? So yeah, I believe it depends. I mean, only 1/5 of it. After that, everything else is it's even after that.
All right. I think we have time for one last question. So this one, Mushtaq, I think you can answer from your personal experience. The question is, what was a problem that you solved most creatively, if it can be explained in a creative way?
So most recently,
Most creatively.
I don't know if it's just me. Don't want to. So, like we said, the feed the need. Sorry, I'm not the project, but like we said, the crisis, that the upcoming crisis, and how we wanted to solve that problem. We were very tunnel vision when we initially got to it. So it was a discussion. It's just not me. Because sometimes people you talk to you just get ideas just talking, you bounce ideas of people. So we have a very good group of people at Villvay, and when we were discussing the problem, like, guys, that was the thing. What we did was, we didn't just build a solution for food crisis, because there's a lot of crisis going on in Sri Lanka. A petrol crisis, food crisis, like anybody who isn't, everybody else is facing like a dozen crises at the same time. And we thought, like, okay, the problem was, okay, we need to
All right. Thank you for those answers, Mushtaq. I think that concludes our session on 411 problem solving. I myself had a blast listening to what he was saying, because as a project manager, I encounter problems every day. Client is saying something and there are problems with the team. So I think I now have a new approach in solving the problems and getting through the problems. So Mushtaq, thank you very much for your inspirational speech. I especially like the part where you mentioned Jurassic Park. And from my personal experience, my thing is with the Terminator. So when they were talking about building Skynet, maybe taking it, giving it to an artificial intelligence to get the defense of a country up and running. So I was like, oh, that's about to go very wrong in so many different ways. So what I'm going to do next is go home, watch Jurassic Park, and comment on each and everything they are going to do wrong. So thank you very much for that. So a little reminder for you, there is a link being posted in the chat right now. So you can go and give us your feedback. What would you like to see next in our next coding event? What did you learn? Any thoughts? You can give us your feedback. And the next reminder is there is a coding challenge and the digital skills challenge. You can submit your entries to that one. The deadline is 12 midnight today. So that's it regarding the talk of 411 problem solving, a very inspirational session